There we go, Lunar New Year. So I did a little bit of research, and the Lunar New Year actually goes from the 1st of February to the 15th of February. We are not at the 14th today, though Valentine's Day is one of my very favorite holidays. We are at the 11th. So the 15th, it is the full moon. It's almost full now. That's when this holiday will end. I actually appreciate having another new year to celebrate because it gives me time to reevaluate the goals that I had made on New Year's Eve on January 1st and see if I might want to like make a little change on those. So with 2022 being the year of the tiger, it is known for a year filled with opportunities to be brave and forceful and terrifying if you need to be. But most of all, it's a holiday for reflection and a time to set yourself up for the new year. And the tradition, and I love this part, the tradition is to, on the eve of the new year, is to scrub your house from top to bottom. You have all of these beautiful foods ready for your friends and neighbors who are coming out the next day. And the thought is that you are sweeping away ill fortune and you're welcoming goodwill. And your friends come in and your families come in, and the tone that is set in the first 2 weeks of the month during the Lunar New Year set the tone for the rest of the year. And that is something I thought I could put into practice. I'm going to give it a go. Okay, so now a little bit about food. You have the tomarashi, which we're going to speak a lot about over the next 45 minutes or so. But I hope that you will go to the Cowgirl Creamery Facebook page and take a look at the recipe that's posted there for bulgogi, which is a Korean dumpling that is made often around the turn of the new year, of the Lunar New Year. And it is absolutely fantastic. We have substituted the Mount Tam, which it was originally made with, and we've put in the tomarashi. And I have to tell you, I made it last weekend and it is absolutely unbelievable. Beautiful little dumplings, beef and chili and a grated apple and a little bit of honey. Oh my gosh, it's fantastic. So I hope you will take a look and I hope you will enjoy. All right, we are going to talk just for a moment about our community. And that is Sheaves with Heart, right? We always say that the community is a tight-knit one, the cheese industry, and also the agricultural community. And as you know, Cowgirl Creamery started in 1997 with two crazy women who decided they would leave their jobs as chefing in San Francisco and come out to Point Reyes to take advantage of the opportunity to work with the first certified organic dairy west of the Mississippi, which was Albert Strauss. But in this community, they found connection, they found collaboration, and it was the height of the food to table movement. There's amazing farms in this area, which you can still see when you come out to visit. One of the very first certified organic farms, actually, he created the certification, is a farm called Star Route Farms, and it is by Warren Weber, and his story is quite a fascinating one, but he was instrumental in creating the certifications in California and helping with the certifications nationally for organics. So the Strauss family dairy inspired us. We were bound and determined that we would make cheese with organic milk. And so Peg and Sue, in this barn behind me, built a creamery to use the milk to make the cheese. Well, they opened the doors in 1997. And I was working for a company out of London at that time. And I was traveling with this wonderful fellow named Martin Trethowan, and he made this amazing cheese called Caerphilly, but he aged it. And the cheese was covered in this gray, bloomy, thick, like a pasture, right? Bloomy mold, dusty mold, gray, thick mold. And it broke down the paste and the cheese was magnificent. I can remember how it tasted to this day. So I wanted to see Cowgirl Creamery. And I grabbed Martin and we drove from Chicago and we went to see Sue Conley, the founder in Point Reyes. And Sue had gotten so connected with the folks in the area. She said, and she really wanted lots of people to be involved with the cheese making. She wanted more cheesemakers. Lynn, I hope you're going to talk a little bit about the Marin Agricultural Land Trust when we move on here, because it was so instrumental. Yeah, so instrumental in people picking up and turning value-added products from their farm. So Sue says, you've got to go see Bob Giacomini. He is a dairy farmer, well positioned in the town and in the community, and he's thinking about making cheese. And Sue was just tickled pink with this, and she said, go visit him. So up the road we went with this furry gray molded cheese under our arm, and Bob invited us in. I'll never forget it. And I have a great picture of him here I want to show you. He is, I think this is in the 80s, and he was indeed the man, right? So he invited us in. We sat in the living room. We had this big wheel of cheese. We talked to him about what he was thinking, this evolution from dairy farmer to cheesemaker. And he hadn't selected the cheese he was going to make yet. Martin was from Wales, and he was absolutely gobsmacked at the magnificence of this farm and the way it was run and the cows and the beauty of the land. And we tasted the cheese. We gave Bob our best pitch. We fought hard for Bob to consider taking this beautiful moldy gray wheel of cheese and bringing it on board and making it in Point Reyes farmstead. And we were so convincing. We put forth such an amazing argument. We were quite shocked to learn that he chose to make blue. And that was that. But nonetheless, I want to introduce to those of you who joined a bit later, Lynn Giacomini-Stray. And Lynn is a friend, an industry leader, a president of Point Reyes Farmstead Cheese Company, also involved in the Marin Institute of Agriculture. I hope I'm saying that right, Lynn. And also the president of our national organization, the American Cheese Society. So she's a very busy woman. Lynn, I can't thank you enough for coming this time with us. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. And like you, Deborah, one of my favorite things is to taste cheese with all of these cheese fans out there, talk about cheese, eat cheese, pair cheese, all that good stuff. And we recognize that without loyal customers like you, this is what's really growing our specialty cheese industry. So so happy to be here. And I have many stories about Deborah too.
Oh no.
So all good, all amazing. I don't know anybody who's more passionate in her descriptions about cheese. So if you're not addicted by the time this is over, then I don't know. We try to do it, right?
We'll keep trying.
That's the plan.
So Lynn, you spent a lot of time on the farm when you were growing up. What was it like in Point Reyes? What was the environment there? What was the community about?
Well, mostly agriculture. So I'm third generational dairy family in West Marin. And so very much, as you mentioned, a community where the dairy families would all get together. Back in, I would say the 50s and 60s, there were 300 dairies in Marin County. Today, I think there's maybe 20, if that. There's only 3 left right on Tamales Bay. Albert Strauss that you mentioned, Bivalve that you purchased milk from for the Red Hawk, and then ourselves. So the dairy industry has really shifted. Most of in the 50s is when the milk supply really started to boom down in the valley. So that's where most of our fluid milk comes from in the state of California. And then one of the reasons why the idea of value-added products and making cheese on the farm became this idea that Peggy and Sue brought to West Marin and our community was because as a smaller farm, it was becoming harder and harder, especially with the price of milk at the time in the 90s, that it was getting harder and harder to really be a sustainable, economically dairy. So I'll just tell a quick story. That barn right behind Deborah, and must have been 1999. And we had started talking as a family about what are we going to do with our family farm. We had been selling our fluid milk. One milk truck would come every day, pick up the milk. And my dad would say, I have nothing to bring to my friends to dinner parties. He wanted to have something that he could be proud of that he actually made. And because we always sold our milk to a co-op, it wasn't quite the same thing. And so when Peggy and Sue started using Strauss's milk and promoting cheese making, especially in the North Bay because of the high quality milk, it was really an answer for our family to really pass it on through generations and be able to have land in agriculture, continue that, but also for our family to continue on and be sustainable. So we went to our first workshop that Peggy and Sue put on with UC Extension in that barn behind Deborah. And it really, that's what made my father and my sisters and I get really excited that this is a great thing. And we can transform our dairy and make something that we can share with our community and beyond. And one of the things that Peggy and Sue always talked about was, we have such a great area. We need to protect our land. I'll talk about Marine Agricultural Land Trust in a minute, but we need to protect our land. We need to provide our dairies with opportunities to pass it on to the next generation. So making cheese, grass-fed beef, organic farming, those are the type of ideas that were being floated out there. And when Peggy and Sue talked about cheese, my sisters and I, first of all, we moved away right away when we went to college. We were not interested in the animal side of the business, but when we heard cheese, we are like food lovers, we're home chefs. We love cheese. We love the European style of eating. And so it was a natural for us, and we fell in love all over again. And Peggy and Sue said to us that day, we don't have to recreate the wheel. We can work as a community, and that rising tides lift all boats. We can become a destination, just like wine country, because this area of Northern California has some of the highest quality milk in their milk components. The cows are able to roam and graze on the property like you see behind me. So it was just, I don't know any other industry that has the collaboration of cheesemakers. And in honor of Women's History Month coming up, I will say there's a lot of women founders in cheese and running cheese companies. And so I'll give a little nod to that. But without Peggy and Sue, I don't know if we would have been so welcomed and really grew the way we did. We really got on this wave from that early stage. So we always talk about Peggy and Sue and Cowgirl, and that our collaborations and neighborly support has gotten us where we are today.
One of my favorite quotes from your dad is that he said, I said, well, why did you decide cheese? And he said, I have 4 daughters. What else could I do here? Of course it has to be cheese. I thought that was beautiful.
Yeah, he's a brave man. Speaking of the tiger, this New Year's is interesting, your tiger year, because we always say, our father was very brave to, first of all, most dairy men in agriculture have a hard time with change and passing on the business even to their sons. To their daughters, it's even rarer. And then to actually allow us to turn one milk check a month that would come in and pick up the milk, to now we are, invoicing, I don't know, over 300, customers. And it's just changed our world completely. And he's still involved, by the way. He is, if you're wondering, he is 83 years old, and he has carte blanche to any meeting. He comes in every day, checks up on the dairy, and sits in on meetings and gets to contribute when he wants, and he walks away, and he lives a great life that he will never retire.
He must be very, very proud. Lynn, we have to get some cheese in people's mouths.
I know, we need to eat.
Come on, you guys, let's try the tomarashi. Here we go. I have a little slide just to keep us on.
Up there in the corner. Yeah.
And there we go. So I have to tell you, I have the pleasure of working with Chelsea and Point Reyes at our shop on the weekends. And this is one of my very favorite cheeses. Why? Because it's absolutely delicious, because it's very unusual, because it's local, and because, Lynn, you have created a cheese that is so delicately scented and flavored and so unique in its flavor profile, and yet it doesn't take away from the actual flavor of the cheese. And I just find that so delightful, so absolutely delightful. So folks, hopefully you have your cheese out and that it's room temperature. And you know, my folks who have been with us before, you know that my line is always, please don't cut yourself a small, tiny slice. Cut yourself a healthy one, a healthy baton that you can melt in your mouth and really access those flavors. And Lynn, one of the things that I get asked at the counter a lot is, you know, it seems like when people think of flavored cheese in America, they think of dill or they think of peppers, of chilies, right? This is so unusual. How did this happen?
Well, we had the help of our executive chef. So we do have a culinary center on the farm called The Fork, and Jen helps us with recipes and applications. First, people really wonder, what is toma? And toma in Italian means, it's literally the wheel of cheese, but it's defined by the farmer using his or her own milk. And so we wanted to make something that was super versatile, that you would eat from morning till night. Very similar to wagon wheel. It's this semi-hard cheese that's meltable, it's snackable, really has these great milk flavors. And with toma, it's very buttery. In Italian, if you've been to Italy, all the different villages have their own toma. So there's really no standardization of particular to align it with a particular varietal, besides that it's semi-hard. But our toma, our regular toma, very buttery up front. When we were asked to do flavors or spices, we actually said no right away because we're kind of purists, but we kind of got pushed. And so we experimented with different flavors and spices. And we fell in love with the Japanese 7-spice blend called chichimi. And that includes the Japanese chili called togarashi. Our intention with a flavored cheese is to make sure that you still taste the cheese up front, and then whatever spice or herb like the chichimi comes in the finish, so that you really get the great quality taste of toma that's super buttery. It lends itself well then into the spice. And like Deborah said, what makes this spice blend different when you're talking about a chili blend is that it's got a lot of layers of character and flavor, because it's got some toasted sesame in there. It's got black and white sesame. It has dried seaweed, that nori. It's got a little bit of ginger in there. It's got poppy seed and hemp seed. So it's got these kind of nutty flavors. And then in the finish, it goes into the togarashi chili, which gives it more of a heat at the end, and not just this hot up front like you would with when you think about a pepper jack or something like that. So we loved it because of the complexity of it and the versatility of pairings. What is really special with this is, believe it or not, milk chocolate. Great combination. It pulls the heat out at the end. But one of my favorites that you mentioned down here at the bottom is wrap it in nori, those dried seaweed squares that you can get in some specialty shops, instead of a cracker as your vehicle. And it brings out this umami flavor. And you can pair it with gin and tonic or sake, and it's just fun and different. So lots of versatility is it in all your Tex-Mex dishes, really anything. I really like this cheese, and it's been really popular, as you've said, Deborah. So we were excited about it.
Well, thank you for making it and creating it. And I just have to say, it is the one that I find in my refrigerator on a very regular basis. we have a lot of other things that we want to talk about with the Point Reyes Farmstead Cheese Company. And Lynn has put together for us, just to give you an idea of what the operation's like now. So we have a little bit of a video, and what my hope is that you can enjoy the cheese, you can sip your wine. What are you guys drinking? What are you guys drinking today? Melinda, what do you got? Oh, mute.
We are drinking a Bordeaux.
Oh, how nice.
Mm.
Does that go well with the Togarashi?
Very well.
Tomarashi, right. Okay, good. And let me see, David, what are you drinking? Do you have any beers or bourbons?
Just about to pour a 40-year-old port.
Oh.
I haven't had. We actually our first drink was with the ice wine.
How did that go?
It's
Fantastic,
delicious.
fantastic.
Wow, that's a great idea. Okay, good.
The
Who else?
Cabernet Franc ice wine is a little harder to get your hands on, but it's really nice.
Wow, that's fantastic. All right, who else
We're
has a
actually
pairing?
from that area in Canada where it's from. So
Really? Goodness. Oh, thank goodness you had it on this side of the border. Otherwise, it'd never get through. Anybody they want to share that they're fond of?
We're pairing it with champagne.
Oh, after my own heart.
I also have a sparkling wine, a Blanc de Blanc from Mum's.
Oh, I bet that's really
It's always good.
very nice.
Sparkling wine's always good.
Heather, how about you?
We went with the gin and tonic and the nori. We love these little papers because they just tell us everything to buy to get it ahead of time.
Great, great. The club insert's very handy. Excellent. Yeah, the gin and tonic, I thought that was a really interesting one too. Well, all right, relax, lay back, enjoy, munch, and let's take a look. Shall we, Lynn? Shall we go to the
Sure. Do you have the music on this one, or can I talk over it and walk everybody through what they're seeing?
I worked so hard to get the music on this.
We'll let it go, and there, I believe there's copy at the bottom so you can see it. So let's just enjoy the movie and eat more cheese.
All right, here we go.
Bringing the farm to you.
Everyone can hear? We're good? Thank you. So beautiful. Write down your questions as we roll through this.
Mostly Holsteins here. Maybe I can talk over it a little bit. They graze off of the property about 6 months out of the year, depending on the weather. These are robotic milking machines with the opportunity to voluntarily come in and get milk when they want. So it's all about cow comfort. This is our renewable energy program of the methane digester, which we collect our wastewater and run our biogas generator. You're fine, Deborah. Milk goes straight into the vat. Oh, it's probably buffering a little bit. And I think you're watching cheese being made. That's our blue cheese, bro. Here's one of our favorite employees. She's called Tina Turner. She comes from Switzerland, and she turns our wheels for us and brushes them. That's the Toma room, Toma and Gouda. So our Toma Rashi's on those shelves there. It's buffering a little bit, maybe. Keep eating Toma and all of our flavors, because you can tell we have a lot to move here. The wheels stay in this room. I think it's buffering a little bit, but the wheels stay in this room about 3 months before we sell the cheese. Okay. Can you hear me okay now?
Now it's much better.
Okay.
Scratch, you might have to go back on some of those facts. But Tina Turner, have you ever seen such a great thing? This is amazing. Absolutely amazing. Energy goes into the land and to the cows, and the employees keep their backs, and yeah, everything's a concentration on the flavor of the cheese and that good end of the work. No need to turn those wheels if you don't have to.
We have 2 creameries now over the years. Like Deborah said, Deborah and I started in the industry, I think when we were 10 years old, and 20 years later, here we are. So during our growth, we, as you can see behind me, this is our property on Tomales Bay, which is only about 3 miles north of the town of Point Reyes. We're on about 700 acres. The cows, as you can see, are grazing off of the property when we have green grass. And as you all know, we lately have not had a lot of green grass. It's green right now, thank God. But we use all of our milk into the cheese on the farm. And that primarily goes into Original Blue, which is our flagship product. That's what we started making from the beginning. That's all we made for 9 years. That's why we're known to many as Point Reyes Blue. And then when we started making our Toma line and an aged Gouda, we opened up a second creamery in Petaluma, just 22 miles away. We also moved our distribution center there, so we were closer for our customers, so they didn't have to come all the way out on the coast road to pick up the cheese. And there we're using milk from local dairies. So we're continuing to support other dairies as we're growing.
Folks, I don't have the opportunity, I don't know if I've had the opportunity to taste any of the other pairings, but I'm really curious. I found the Cliff family tamari mixed nuts, the sesame seeds to be a nice combination. It really brings out the nuttiness in the cheese, and the spices seem to work together. They're not fighting. Quite tasty. This is a company in Healdsburg, St. Helena, and they grow organic produce. They also are they are the Cliff Bar inventors. They have a beautiful shop with beautiful organic wines and some lovely marmalades and condiments that go well with the cheese. Tina and Mel picked these for us to go in honor of the Lunar New Year. Spicy and pizzazz, brave, forceful, and I think they're quite nice. So, and then the salami, I just wanted to shout out, and you'll pair them with the other cheeses that will come across in the next couple slides. But the salami is very unusual in that it's from a land grant that was given by the governor of Mexico to a fellow who had settled in California. He came across with Joseph Sutter, and it was like 18,000 acres. It was huge. And the same family, it's 6 generations have been on that land since then, and they are still farming that land sustainably, raising pork and beef and wheat and some other crops. But the salami is quite interesting, and it was selected for the 5-spice blend. And I am very curious if you can pick out the spices in that salami without reading. That's your challenge.
Definitely fennel.
Yep, got it. Good. What else do you taste?
Is there cinnamon?
Yes, there's cinnamon in there. I was amazed. A little bit of clove. Do you get that?
Clove, that's what I meant. And cardamom.
Yep, there's a little bit of that. And then a little bit of the heat. Just amazing spices. They really do a lovely job. Mel, I'd like to thank you for selecting that salami for us. Well done. All right, so Lynn, we're going to move on and taste another couple cheeses, and then we're going to come back. Unless, does anyone have any questions for Lynn after looking at Tina Turner and all of the cool things that they're doing on the farm?
I just wondered if there was a learning curve for the cows to sort of wander up, and how long did that take for them to figure it out?
On the robotic milking side,
Mhm.
yes. As a matter of fact, when we put them in, we had a team of people 24 hours for 2 solid weeks, walking them through because they can go in at any time. That allows them, they pretty much get milked 3 times naturally during a 24-hour period. So, and they're all rotating at different times. And so we had to have crews on 24/7.
Wow.
So it did take a little while. And then it became very natural for them because it's such a consistent feeling. So there's a lot of great technology and data that we're getting from those machines too, to really identify when a cow is not feeling well or if she's in heat, the quality and the components of the milk as well. So it's really about wellness and getting ahead of the curve on that.
It's a Fitbit for the
Oh,
cows.
thank you.
You're right. They have cow collars. That's their Fitbit. So we get their temperature, how they're, if they're laying down for a long period of time, etc. We get to find out all this fascinating information.
It's also, I've heard that with the option for them to be milked when they do so desire, that the milk yield can increase. Is that true?
Yes, we are getting about, so we were milking them twice a day at a 12-hour interval. Now they're being milked on average about 3 times a day on their own. And we're getting about anywhere from 10, I think it's about, we're up to 12% increase, the same animal, but because they're eating more, and then they're coming in, they're getting milked. They're also, when you walk through the barn, it's completely silent. They are so happy and comfortable. They're not standing for a few hours waiting their turn to get milked every 12 hours. That can be stressful on a cow. So this allows them just to walk up, and they're also patient and polite with each other. It's amazing.
My goodness, that's
Yeah.
wonderful.
It
We
is.
would like a tour. Wouldn't that be fun? We could go to Point Reyes Farmstead and we
We will have to arrange that, Deborah. I would love that for your
would be-
cheese group to
would be
come out
really good. Really,
this
really.
summer.
So it's also phenomenal to me the technology involved in being able to do that and to be able to line up with a cow. So that each quarter was being milked properly and they weren't damaged. It's quite amazing. Yeah, there's something about reincarnation that is appealing for me to consider. And I think I would like to put in my application to be reincarnated as a cow on your dairy.
Well, if I could arrange that, I would.
Power to the people.
Power to the people, exactly.
All right, we're going to now taste this next cheese from our friends, Pat Ford in Beehive Creamery, and they are in Utah. And let's see, I think we have a picture here. This is a cheddar. And these, Pat Walsh and his brother-in-law, Tim, Pat Ford and Tim Welch, that is who they are. Dear friends, and also brother-in-laws. They live in Unita in Utah, and they were in completely different occupations, and they were very impressed and appreciative of the artisanal food movement that was not quite as vibrant as they wanted it to be. And so they thought they would help. So they studied cheese making and they came back, and their claim to fame, besides making a beautiful cheddar, creamy, lovely cheddar wheels, is that they come up with the most unusual flavorings. And it's just been well received, and they've won all kinds of awards. And again, I think that this is the thing, when you make such great cheese and you put such care into it, sometimes it's really easy to overpower and you lose that, right? You lose that as you add all these other ingredients, but they like Point Reyes has done it with such a gentle hand. So this is sea salt and wildflower honey rubbed on the rind of the cheese. And the sea salt is from a mine, a reserve that is left over from an old seabed close to Unita. And the milk is 10 miles away from where they make cheese, their creamery, and it's from one farm, from a 4th generation farmer. So this is a farmer who's been on the land for 4 generations, excuse me. It's called Wakeland. And I just think that this is a great example of tying together all of the bits in your area, a real sense of place. So it is the salt apparently that gives it a little bit of a pinkish tinge, excuse me, and I don't know if you get that, but what do you guys think of this cheddar? Oh my gosh, I'm excited.
I'm a little bit partial, and I absolutely love this cheddar. This to me, I moved out here from Utah a few months ago, and Sea Hive to me, when we talk terroir of Utah, we have, like Deborah said, we have that local milk, single herd from Wade Dairy. They are doing local sea salt, so that pink sea salt from the Great Salt Lake, and then a little bit of raw wildflower honey. So they're taking all these local terroir things and putting them together. This is actually my personal favorite that Beehive makes. That little bit of honey as the cheese ages. So honey is actually causing almost another fermentation to happen because honey is a fermented food. So it's giving you these really unique flavors that you don't get in their other cheeses, which makes the cheese even more sweeter. And then that salt really just, we all know what salt does. It adds even more flavor. So this to me is one of my go-to Beehive cheeses. I love noshing on it. It's a great snackable cheese. It's also a wonderful, wonderful cooking cheese. I love Sea Hive and mac and cheese. One of my favorite ways to use this. So I was super excited when I saw this in the kit for tonight.
Excellent. Well, as you might be able to tell, Matt has a great palate, and we are very, very fortunate because he is our retail and hospitality manager, excuse me. And so he spends a good bit of time right now at Point Reyes, making sure that everything is running smoothly, creating recipes and working with Sean, his right hand, and Chelsea, his left hand, and he's in very good company. So thanks for joining us tonight, Matt. Hey, what would your beverage of choice be with this?
Right now, the shop's closed, so I'm having a little bit of beer as we wrap up for the night. So I'm having a beer that's actually made in LA. It's a double IPA. Really goes well with, you're kind of playing off that bitter and sweet notes. So you're kind of balancing those out with each other. So the cheese brings out a nice sweetness quality that's in the beer. And I love this. And this is a great company. It's from Crown and Hops. They're a Black owned company doing really, really great stuff. So, and I think the double IPA with the Tomarashi as well. This is kind of like for all these flavors that we have on the board tonight, it's kind of like a great, well-rounded beer for all of those.
Excellent. Thanks, Matt. Anybody else have some pairings they're crazy about? Because if not, we're going to take a quick leap to one of our favorite cheeses, which is the Red Hawk. Oh my gosh, such a cheese, right? So I was delighted when mine arrived, and I saw the diversity in the rind, a little bit of white bloom, a little bit of orange, a little bit of tackiness on the rind. And mine has been out for about 4 hours sitting on the counter, and the funkiness, the strength, the roar, the ferocity of the Year of the Tiger that was on the rind of the Red Hawk when first opened has completely dissipated, and it's reached room temperature. And as it's a triple cream organic single farm cheese, this is, when it is room temperature, like soft butter. And because it's a smaller format, it doesn't, excuse me, and it also has a different rind, a washed rind. So it doesn't have the same breakdown that the Mount Tam does underneath the rind with that firmer center. So I find the flavors here to be, and I'm going to ask you what you're tasting, right? And what flavors are coming out for you. But I find this to be incredibly nuanced and delicate, funky and low in its notes. The same umami that you get a little bit with the togarashi. It makes me stop talking. So creamy. Oh my gosh. So as you're identifying those flavors that are rolling across your palate, This cheese is made in Point Reyes, and it's the only place it's made. The milk is from 1.5 miles up the road. So it's very much a sense of place. Its rind is developed by the natural microflora and molds and yeasts in the air. So in locations close to the sea, there is a particular strain of bacteria called Brevibacteria linens, or linens, as it is also pronounced. And it is attracted to areas where there's a lot of salt in the air, and it thrives. And it has been isolated and manufactured commercially and can be added to a water wash, excuse me, to cause rinds to grow this orange hue and a little bit of this funky flavor. But what we learned is that the natural existence of this bacteria in the air mixed with the natural molds and yeast makes this so particular to Point Reyes Station that if we made it anywhere else, it would be completely different. And have I told you the story of how it came about? The partnership that finally was made between Mother Nature and Sue Connolly? Stubborn though Sue is, brilliant woman, but stubborn beyond all belief. So I'll tell it quickly. Here's the story. We had a woman working with us from London. She went to visit her mom. She came back with a wheel of Stilton under her arm, and the Stilton had a bit of an orangey rind on it, because England, like Point Reyes Station, London particularly, close to the ocean, close to the water, had naturally existing Brevibacteria linens on it. Well, she didn't want this cheese to go to waste, so she tucked it into the aging room that was filled with these beautiful, pristine, white, bloomy, rinded Mount Tams. And they went home for the night. And the next morning, they arrived at the creamery and they looked in at the cheeses, the white, beautiful Mount Tams that were aging. And lo and behold, what did they see? It was starting to bloom with these monstrous orange, sticky molds and yeast and bacteria. So Sue, no pennies can be wasted. It's the early days. Cheese is precious. Grabs a bucket and some salty water and a clean towel and starts to individually wipe off these molds on each Mount Tam. Figuring she's killed the beast, saved the company, she goes home and the next day comes back and the orange coating on the rind is even heavier, because what she's done is she's not washed it away, but she's invited every bit of this microflora in the air to please come in and take over the Mount Tams. So it wasn't long before there was an awareness that we had something very special. And once we worked with Mother Nature, as opposed to trying to create something that wasn't a natural fit there, this is the cheese that evolved. And it does change a bit from the seasons. The humidity in the air, the balance of different yeasts and molds mixed with the Brevibacteria linens, but it is, I think, very unique, and you can see it being made in Point Reyes, and I hope you like it. Thumbs up. Oh, yes, so glad, so glad. It is a very special cheese, and again, because the milk comes from such a close organic farm, it's very much a sense of that place. So I think this with the salami is unbelievable, and the pairings, mine are on there. Pear mostarda, which is a savory and sweet condiment with sugar and mustard seed and mustard oil and chili. Absolutely delicious. I use Red Hawk a lot in cooking, in any dishes that I need to lift up some base notes, give it some depth of flavor and some complexity. Really, really good. And nice also by itself. Hoppy Ale Stout. I think a little bourbon neat on the side would be heavenly, but I am like you, Matt. I'm still happily working. All right. Any questions, comments?
I have a comment, Deborah. You didn't tell them that it won best cheese in the United States in 2003.
2003. Yep.
2003.
It's true. We did. We were amazed. And again, I think, the lesson is just, a lot of our recipes, as Lynn was saying, come from Europe. We play with them. We dance with them. We watch how they evolve in our environments, and we come up with an American original cheese. And this is something that this area really, since 1997 and 2000, when Point Reyes Cheese Company started, has really become known for, is these incredible, small, beautiful, local, very much sense of place American artisanal cheesemakers. And there was one point in time when there was an article written in the New York Times, and well, France is all about the Appalachians, right? All about the particular areas and the rules and regulations and what is naturally existing in that area. And the New York Times article was written by Johnny Apple, who was quite well known at that time. And he said, the Normandy north of the Golden Gate Bridge. And he recognized the dairies and the cheesemakers who were creating all of these really wonderful things at that point in time. And it was high praise and hard work. Everyone worked very hard for it. So that's that, but onward. So Lynn, there is a lot of talk right now, and glory be, about the sustainability work that needs to be done to prevent climate change from getting worse and trying to turn the needle backwards. I have heard more enthusiasm for the vegan-based or the non-dairy based,
Plant-based.
plant-based in the last probably year or so than I have ever heard before, and that's a market that's growing. In some cases, I think these markets are building their growth upon negative comments about what animal dairies are doing. And I think here again, as in the beginning, when we were creating recipes and American artisan cheese movements, and we were a little bit ahead of the curve, I think that there's an incredible amount of energy going in to try to make change. And you and your family, your company certainly is an example of this. Do you want to talk a little bit about just what you do and what your goals are with that, and what control you have in terms of making a difference?
Sure. Yeah, this is really about surviving in the future, and getting back to what has changed since I grew up here. Well, number one, it's that it used to be foggy all the time, and we'd have our Indian summers. Climate change has certainly shown up, and you can see by this picture in today's weather. I think it was 74 earlier today. So we have to really look at being stewards of the land and evolving our best practices. A lot of things that we were already doing, you can see maybe from this picture a little bit, but one of the earlier things was controlling our energy source. By doing that too, we always look at a cow as getting two things, both energy and food. And food, of course, you're eating today, but the energy comes from their waste water. And by collecting it, we're actually reducing our greenhouse gas emissions. That was that covered lagoon. So we capture all the wastewater and we collect all of the methane. That's what runs our biogas generator. We're doing a lot with water reclamation as well. Obviously, what's happened to us in the last year in California, and even just yesterday, seeing a fire down in the Los Angeles region. This is a very serious thing. And so we are, looking at different ways to apply compost to our land so that we retain water and moisture in the soil. It's about having a really healthy soil. These are all what we're talking about now is, they say, regenerative farming. It's another word for sustainability. There's so much technology today that we're trying to do as much as we can to mitigate all these increases in carbon, with carbon sequestration programs, with reducing our greenhouse gases. I think agriculture is and I'll be the first one to say it, we all are part of the problem. Unfortunately, they have villainized the animals quite a bit, but we know dairy will never go away. They're a great contributor to grazing, which helps with fire protection. It helps with carbon sequestration in the way that animals graze. They're creating the regenerative grasses that are growing. We're planting in a different way in the last few decades so that we're not turning up the soil. There's a lot of things we're doing now with animal feed to help with digestion, and then making sure that they're not belching as much, believe it or not. But it's the different feed that they're able to have that helps their digestive system, that will improve on their milk components, as well as reduction in their gas emissions. So a lot of fascinating things with science and technology that we're able to monitor a lot closer with animals. But really, it's about having healthy animals, and it starts with healthy soil. So we always say, you know, the cheese is the benefit to all that we do. And I know Strauss and Bivalve Dairy right next door to us are doing a lot of these innovative practices as well. There's a lot that's been going on for a long time that I think people, my dad always said, we've always been all natural. We've always been organic, because we have to be sustainable. We can't wait for service people to come through. We can't, you know, we have to recycle and reuse and upcycle a lot of our material, our nutritional management. One of the things we do is, having a cheese plant, we're able to reuse our whey. Whey ends up being about 75% of our cheese making, and we're able to feed that back to the cows. That's a form of feed for them, as well as they really like the flavor of it, but it gives us an opportunity to use that again on the farm. So a lot is happening, and there's a lot of different places to go and look for that. And I personally believe that plant-based products and agriculture can certainly work closely together and be a part of people's diets in a balance. We all share the same trucks, the same fuel, the same refrigeration to get to a store. You need water for almonds, you need water for cows. We're really in this all together. And the more that we can be talking about these solutions, and I think we're going to be able to measure them a lot more as we're learning more about them as well. So I think there's a lot of good things on the horizon.
Thank you. I appreciate everything that you're doing. And I think the other thing that I would like to add is, just in doing some research on this, one thing that I try to keep in mind is that cows can graze on pasture and turn the nutrients into that soil in so much more usable food than if you're taking a plant and turning it into broccoli rabi on the dinner plate, right? Which there's nothing wrong with that. But plant-based dairy, plant-based cheese, it's a straight line, where when the cows are grazing, turning it into milk, turning it into meat, there's much more nutritional value for humans. So in terms of feeding the world, which is a concern, right? This is something else to think about. So I think it's conscientious farming, you know, animal welfare, human health, respect for the land. It's something we all need to be aware of. And I am hopeful that this is a conversation that will continue. It's very important to, I know you, Lynn, and the folks here at Cowgirl Creamery and these small dairy farms who have been in families for generations, you know, they want to stay. They're not, it's not crash and burn and leave. It's an investment in the environment and the land for the future. So anyway, I don't want to be negative at the end of our club conversation. But if anybody has any questions, it really is such a great opportunity to have Lynn here to ask her from her own personal experience and what her company is doing on any subject. She also is quite the wine buff. So you
I started my career in wine sales. So it was always about the soil, the land, and, you know, really enjoying, you know, wine with food. And I think Matt was saying earlier, you know, beer has become a big pairing item. And the wide breadth of flavors of beers that they're making today has been really fun to pair with cheese. So you can't go wrong. You really can't.
All right. Any questions out there? Any stories? Any conversation? Everybody's happy and licking their lips.
I do have a question.
Mm.
So the sustainability movements that are happening, is it happening across the industry or just at a few places?
Well, it depends on what technology. So when we talk about methane digester, which is part of our renewable energy program, I know that there's, at least up in Marin County, there is a grant that they're trying to find more funding for, because it is an expensive program to install. So there's more and more funding coming from both government and state that will help these smaller farmers invest in this for their future. So it depends on what the technology is, but yes, you're seeing more and more of it.
So there's an interest out there. It's just getting the funding and making it work.
Absolutely, yes. And the larger dairies, of course, have a little bit more opportunity with that. So where we're really trying to push for is these smaller dairies that maybe don't have these funds, they don't have a value-added product, but they have the nutrient management plan, so that these, whether it's, the renewable energy, but most everybody is now really applying the compost and using natural fertilizer on their property, because that's helping with the soil, health of the soil.
Okay.
And of course, water, excuse me, water reclamation is big. More and more people are putting in rain capture systems, anything that we can, because we all started hauling water. And let me tell you, that's a pain point. We hauled water in June for the first time ever on our property, from June until October because of the drought, to the tune of about $130,000. So we were very happy when October's rain came. So we're keeping our fingers crossed.
So economically, it behooves people, even if they're like, I don't need that. Economically, they're saying, yeah, maybe I do need to look at it a different way. And it's encouraging to know that there's, it's not just boutique kind of places that are doing it, that it's happening everywhere. So there's hope.
Yeah, and they're going to have to change if they want to be around for future generations. We're going to have to plant different plants, maybe different grasses. I know crop farmers are looking at different crops to be more drought resistant. Yeah, absolutely. We're adjusting.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And there is there are standards and benchmarks that have been drawn by the Dairy Management Inc., which has set standards and benchmark and has been measuring. So having an initiative and wanting to make change and doing these little things is important, but it's also important to be able to measure the difference that you're making so that standards can be set. As standards were set for organic dairying, this is the same sort of thing. And they have a goal of being net neutral by 2050, I believe. And there's work that's come out of the climate conference in Scotland, and I'm forgetting the name of it. Len, I'm sure you'll remember. But they have done a lot of work about just everybody has to bring down their emission of gases and CO2, and standards are set. And it's in the world, I believe my facts are correct here, that animal agriculture is 14% of the emissions of methane and CO2 in the air. There's also transportation and a myriad of other things, mining and methane gas and that sort of thing. So, I come back to this, what can I do? I have to do what I can do in my house, in my purchasing, and support the people who are working hard to make a difference, because we are all one big family at the end of the day. So there we have that. Any other questions? I'm so happy to see you all. Thank you so much for coming. We've got a few bits of news, and that is, I just want to remind you, we've got our Facebook page with some recipes on it for Cowgirl Creamery Club members only. And the next club will be held March 11th, 4:30 in the afternoon Pacific time. And the theme on this one is Mardi Gras. and Mel has picked some amazing products. I think.
And Tina, I just say yay and nay, and that looks good.
They're a good team. So one of the things they've said yay on is this really beautiful cheddar that has stout mixed in with it. And again, a delicate hand and quite a tasty flavor. So we're celebrating the Mardi Gras then. And for you folks in the club, 10% off anything on our website. You enter a code when you check out. So there's that. And let's see, what other kind of news do we have? Oh, I know we have there we go. We have some news. In March, you guys are going to have another presenter, and I can't tell you who that is yet. It's going to be a surprise, but I can tell you that they're absolutely fantastic. And I would like to thank you because on February 25th, it will be my last day with Cowgirl Creamery and Tomales Bay Foods. And you have been such a huge part of my joy over the last year. I can't thank you enough for spending time with us and asking good questions and having some fun. And I wish you all the best, and I will miss you and look forward to maybe we can bump into each other in a cheese shop someplace. But you have a wonderful group of people who are supporting the project here, and that's it. With that, Valentine's Day is coming up, all's good. Thank you all, and thank you, Lynn. Such a pleasure to have you. Thank you very much.
Deborah, we will miss you.
Thank you. I will miss you too, but who knows? You know what? Around a table with good cheese and good fun and good wine, you often find old friends. So that is my hope.
Deborah, you helped us select our cheese for our wedding 8 years ago.
Oh my God, I remember that. Oh my gosh, you were one of the first to do a cake with cheese.
That's right.
Thank you for reminding me.
We wish you the best.
Thank you so much. I greatly appreciate it. More to come. But all right, all have a great weekend. Have a wonderful Valentine's Day. Take good care and be safe.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Happy Cheese Day.
Happy
Bye,
Cheese
everyone.
Day. Bye.